There's a new iPhone in town. We have here the iPhone 16e. This is meant to be a more budget-friendly iPhone, so how good is it? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our iPhone 16e review. Apple has done away with this SE series, and taking its place is simply the E, or economy model, if you will. Rather than focusing on a tiny form factor, the 16e is just like the iPhone 16, but with a few downgrades here and there, like only one camera. Having just one camera does lend the iPhone 16e a unique look, for what that's worth. This phone is about the same size as the iPhone 16, just not quite as thin. The flat back here is matte and made of glass, and you have a matte frame made of aluminum. The phone feels compact and secure in the hand. Like the rest of the iPhone 16 series, there is an action key on the iPhone 16e. It's a hardware button which you can use to launch shortcuts. There is no camera control key though, that's reserved for the higher tier models. But you do get the same IP68 rated ingress protection on all of them, rated for submersion to a depth of 6 meters. The display of the iPhone 16e is similar to what we've seen before from Apple, a 6.1-inch OLED with ceramic shield glass protection and a 60Hz refresh rate. We have the same nitpick here that we had with the iPhone 16. At 60Hz, swiping and scrolling on this screen is less smooth than what you get on any phone with a high refresh rate. There's no always-on display support either. The display performs fine. It's sharp at 457 ppi, and there's support for HDR10 and Dolby Vision video standards. The bezels are on the thicker side, but that's to be expected here. Not only that though, the maximum brightness is only about 800 nits. It doesn't boost higher when you're out in the sun, so this phone will be less comfy to use outdoors. You do still get the large notch cutout too, and there's no dynamic island functionality to spruce it up. The cutout houses both the selfie camera and a 3D TOF sensor. That enables Apple's secure Face ID, which you'll use for biometrics, as there's no fingerprint reader. The iPhone 16e has a pair of stereo speakers for audio. They have very good loudness and sound great. Let's have a listen.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare.
And the phone can come with 128, 256, or 512 gigs of storage on board, and that's not expandable through microSD card. The software interface of the iPhone 16e is the latest version of Apple's iOS 18. It's the same as what you'd get on the higher tier iPhone 16 models. This includes the Apple Intelligence AI features, and full integration of a ChatGPT-powered assistant. You can check out these features more in depth in our iOS 18 and iOS 18.2 videos. And on top of that, the new iOS 18.3 supports dark mode for third-party app icons. And just like the other recent iPhones, Apple is offering at least 5 years of software support for the iPhone 16e. The chipset of the iPhone 16e is the same as the iPhone 16, almost. On paper, it's the Apple A18. However, the chipset inside of this phone has one less GPU core, meaning there's less muscle here when it comes to graphics. As a result, while the 16e packs just as much punch as the iPhone 16 when it comes to CPU performance and AI capabilities, in graphics tests it falls behind. There, the 16e earns scores that are more on par with the iPhone 14. Still, there's plenty of power here for multitasking and even gaming. The thermal management is solid here too, with the iPhone 16e sustaining good performance throughout our prolonged stress tests. Like I mentioned earlier, the iPhone 16e has a larger battery than the iPhone 16, it's 4,005 mAh. But despite that, this phone earned lower scores in our battery tests, with an overall active use score of 11 hours and 53 minutes. Screen on times were noticeably worse here, perhaps because it's using an older display tag. The phone doesn't come with a charger, but with a proper adapter we were able to charge from 0 to 57% in half an hour, and a full charge took an hour and 50 minutes, about the same as the iPhone 16. And now let's get into the camera quality. The iPhone 16e has just one 48 megapixel camera on the back. As with other iPhones that have 48 megapixel main cameras, the 16e can capture photos in 24 megapixels or 12. and we shot our samples in 24 to get the best quality possible. In good lighting, the level of detail is very good, but when zooming in, there's a bit of a digital jagged quality to random textures. There's also some graininess in the out of focus areas. Colors are actually a lot more vibrant than what you typically expect from an iPhone, and dynamic range is quite wide, to the point where some high contrast scenes can almost look a little washed out. Here's a look at some shots of people. And the 16E's camera can focus rather close, allowing you to take some reasonable close-ups. At 2x digital zoom, the iPhone 16E's shots are just decent. There's some loss in quality, which is expected. In the dark, the 16E's camera produces shots with pleasant colors, and there's alright detail where there's enough light. Shadows are consistently soft though. There's also a tendency towards overexposure, resulting in unusually bright shadows, plus some harsh highlight clipping in some scenes. Selfies come from a 12 megapixel front-facing cam with autofocus. They come out pretty great, with good detail, nice skin tones, and wide dynamic range. You can shoot videos in up to 4K resolution at 60 FPS with either camera. From the rear camera, the footage comes out with very good detail, reasonably vivid colors, and excellent contrast and dynamic range. The stabilization does a great job too, as is usual for Apple's phones. In the dark, things aren't looking nearly as awesome. The dynamic range is nice and wide, but the footage is not terribly sharp, being a notch softer than the iPhone 16. So that's the iPhone 16e. It provides the signature iPhone design and overall user experience for less cash than the iPhone 16. But the savings come at a cost. The display, battery life, chipset, and cameras have all taken a hit. How much you save depends on the market. This phone is much more expensive in Europe than it is in the USA. But if price is your priority and you prefer not to get an older iPhone model, the iPhone 16e is an option for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Here's a link to our iPhone 16 review if you'd like to compare. And another nice alternative from last year is the iPhone 15. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.